right, thank you so much for staying with Daybreak, and we are starting this discussion on the BBI. We'd like to hear your views as well. It's an ongoing conversation, so all views are welcome at this point. At Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya, use the hashtag Daybreak. Let me introduce my guest this morning who will be helping us in this discussion. Honorable Edama Olekina, Narok Senator, is joining us on Skype. Governor Ali Korane, Governor for Garissa, is with me here in studio. Thank you so much for making time. Ndegwa Muhoro, the Chairperson, County Assembly Forum, is also joining us on Skype. And Wanjiru Gikonyo, governance practitioner, also an advocate for participatory governance, is with us as well. Thank you so much for making time this morning. And Governor Korane, I'll start with you. What is your general view of the BBI before we get into the devolution part of it?
I think I have been listening to the divided opinion of Kenyans, but I personally believe that BBI is a good thing. From where we started, if we go back to 2018, when this debate started, we want to agree that at that time, when the two principles came together, there was a problem. The country, its stability, its security, its economy were all challenged at that time. So by them coming together, I think was an opportunity which everybody in this country appreciated. That when that problem was countered and we had that relief, that they decided to find a solution to that problem which has been perennial in every election cycle, I think is also another was a good opportunity. The fact that they appointed the most eminent elders in this country to go and listen to Kenyans to find out what their views are on how to counter these perennial problems, I think was also a good idea. Now that those eminent persons have come back with these recommendations, out of the very many recommendations, proposals, presentations which were made, I think is a good thing, and we want it to be very clear that these are the opinions of Kenyans. It's not a document where the two principals sat with eminent persons and told them, you write this and leave this out. So BBI is a good thing. There is a possibility that when you read through, you may not agree with one or two things and you think it will be done better. But I think overall, BBI is a good thing.
All right. Senator Ledama, what do you think of the BBI?
Good morning. How are you doing?
Good, good, good.
Let me put it this way. I think it's a conversational document because I personally have got a lot of issues with some of the proposals, and I'll be very categorical in terms of the Senate. It has watered down the position of the Senate. It has created a fusion between the National Assembly and the executive. And this is something which is very dangerous for a young economy and a young democracy, because we've got to separate state and government. I have to clarify that there's a very big difference between a state and a government. You know, a state is permanent, but a government is temporary. But now when you create this fusion, you must, between the National Assembly and the executive, you must put in place a very strong check and balance, which is the Senate. But what the BBI has done, it has watered down the role of the Senate. It has attempted to lie to Kenyans that by sending 47 women representatives into the Senate, you are solving the problems of the two-thirds gender rule, which is actually not true. The other big issue is that I think when this task force went across the country, no one said blot in the Senate. Everyone said make Senate the upper house. But this task force, I don't know, they just woke up and they decided, hey, you know, even us, we can give in our views. And since the country is having a lot of problems with the issue of the Senate, let us just, you know, let us attempt to say there's 100% gender parity. That's issue number one. Number two, there's also the issue of division of revenue. The Senate played a key role in uniting this country. And that can never be forgotten by the people of this country, that if it was not for the Senate standing firm, even that Governor Korane would have lost money. So the issue is this: let us be pragmatic. Let us think of creating a constitution that will favor us when those people who do not agree with us are in power. I keep on saying, when you are making a constitution, make a constitution that even when your enemy is the one in power, you are comfortable. You know, we gained quite a lot during the 2010, the proclamation of the 2010 Constitution.
Yeah.
When President Kibaki came into power, we were able to share. You could see that the president was not all powerful. You know, he could be able to, you know, to carry out function, but he was being checked by the parliament.
Yeah.
I don't agree that the president should be able to appoint his prime minister. I think the prime minister should be automatic. You know, that the coalition that wins the majority of seats should form the government, you know. Number two, I also think that the task force ignored a lot of issues that can build our economy. You know, particularly when you look at in terms of the game reserves,
yeah.
we had recommended that they recommend, even if it's a policy or an administrative or legislative proposal, that can be able to create a huge buffer zone
yeah.
between our national reserves, our game reserves, and development.
Yeah.
Right now, what is happening, particularly, let's say, in Narok, which gives us about 3 billion shillings every year, is that people are constructing all the way to the park. When the animals want to spread out of the park, they end up dying because they hit fences. You know, there is also there's a lot of interferences.
Yeah.
There's also the issue of the land question. We cannot go around in circle. What we must decide is that we want to ensure that even the youth themselves,
yeah.
when they are being given an opportunity, it is not a favor, it is their right.
Okay.
So in a nutshell,
yeah.
because I don't want to take too long, is that I think there's a lot of misinformation.
Yeah.
Because even if you look at the 5%, which is said to be set aside from the county revenue fund to be given as a ward development fund, that 5%, first of all, MCAs should know that they're not the ones who are going to be running it.
Okay.
There's a legislation which is going to be put in place for it, and also 5%. We should actually be, you know, gearing towards 100% of that money being used to develop those counties.
Okay.
We'll get into taking the 95% to the governor.
All right, Senator, we'll get into the nitty-gritties of the proposals for devolution in just a bit. I just want to get your general overview of the document. Let's bring in Wanjiru Gikonyo on this. Wanjiru, what are your general thoughts on the BBI report as is?
Trevor, I'd want to start off by saying all warfare is based on deception. And the BBI is an instrument of warfare against our democracy and against the gains of the Constitution of Kenya. And it is steeped in deception. Deception in the language, deception in the process, deception in the proposals, because it is not what it purports to be. Why do I say this? We are being told by the governor that the reason for why Kenyans, 2017, the nation stopped for 9 months, why blood was shed in 2017 was because of economic reasons and ethnic reasons. No, it was because of state-sponsored electoral fraud. It is, and this is on record. The Supreme Court pronounced itself on this. It is because the state-sponsored rigging of the elections, killing of Chris Musando, this is what brought the country to its knees. So BBI is attempting to rewrite our recent history to brainwash us and imagine our problems actually are somewhere else other than with our political leadership. The other thing is right now the campaigns that are going on a building bridges initiative, in quotes, are telling us, haraka haraka, pitisha this, we need to safeguard the Jubilee administration, Uhuru Kenyatta's legacy. Uhuru Kenyatta's legacy is his responsibility to Kenyans. And if we are not happy with his legacy, we will remove him. So BBI is putting in policy proposals, legislative proposals, bringing them into our constitution, marring our constitution with confusion, really undermining the clean principles and structure of the constitution to secure Uhuru Kenyatta's legacy. That is, actually, BBI is very symptomatic of the incompetence of the Jubilee administration. And you know, that falls on both Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto. It's a very incompetent administration. It has run our economy to the ground. Now, political leaders are telling us the solution to our problem is to pass this document. Last point, citizen safe. The problem we have with political accountability is citizens are not able to hold governments to account. We are therefore being forced, subjected to this ridiculous process that most Kenyans can see is about political leadership, expanding the executive, barring the separation of powers, is about political contestation. It is not about citizens. So the issue that the BBI, these so-called eminent people missed, and they are people who have a good track record, but in this case have been subjugated to political interests. They did not strengthen Article 1. Why should our political leaders use a popular process to subject us to this idiocracy? We should be building the nation, recovering from COVID, not contesting basic things that were exhausted in the constitution review process. So the BBI panel overlooked citizens' say. The citizen petition should compel Parliament to give us what we need, not them compelling us to enter into their absurd processes. So totally misses the mark. It's a terrible document. A few good things for conversation, but really this is a continuation of the abuse of political power by our political leaders.
All right, let me bring in Honorable Ndegwa Wahome on this. Ndegwa Wahome is the chairperson, County Assemblies Forum. Ndegwa, what are your thoughts on the BBI generally?
Thank you very much. Good morning, Trevor.
Good morning.
At the outset, that the document for us is that it is a platform for Kenyans to discuss, for Kenyans to talk to each other. And I think all the issues that have been raised there are issues that have been at the center of conversations within this country, from tribalism to everything, the 9-point agenda in the BBI. I would say that we are talking to our members of the county assemblies across the country. And we are listening to them, and for the time being, is that there are good things within the document, and there are other things that might not be palatable for the citizens of this country. And I think also we are concentrating too much on the constitutional amendments. I think the constitutional amendments are only touching on the structure of the executive, and also on the IBC, that is the electoral body. The big issues will be discussed in Parliament, and that is where, as assemblies, we are going to be watching. There are 12 very, very critical bills, and we shall expect that there will be complete, even if there is no constitutional reform, there is no referendum. Those 12 bills are very, very critical, and we shall require to look at them one by one, and we expect that Parliament shall ensure that all the stakeholders are involved in this. There will be policies to operationalize some areas within the BBI report. And this also, Kenyans and the assemblies, we are going to be very keen to see that the approval process of these bills, or of these policies, that they respond to the aspirations and the concerns of the people of this country. And then there are other simple things which we are not being told, which just require administrative action for them to happen, because Kenyans' concerns and aspirations are known, and therefore administratively we should be able to deal with those issues. When we come to the actual content of our discourse today, we shall see on which particular areas that assemblies we agree on, and which ones require improvement, and which ones actually we might not require to look at them for a second time.
Okay. Governor, you know, the ANC party leader, Musalia Mudavadi, is suggesting another smaller committee to look into the contentious issues in the current BBI report. Would you support that move?
You know, I want to assume that this conversation has involved everybody. What you are hearing now are the views of individuals. They could be party leaders, they could be experts, they could be this or that. But this is a conversation which has involved every Kenyan, from the shores of Lake Turkana to Lamu, from Mosili Island to Mfangano Island, from Busia to Mandera, and everybody has given his views. So there's no, and there will always be issues which Kenyans can discuss all the time. And I want to believe that there will be a time for that. So let's read this document. Let's assume that it is what the experts or what the eminent persons have picked out of those very many millions of recommendations that were given to them.
Yeah.
There's no way everything could be contained inside here. So let's not critique this document or read it with a view to just finding faults. In my community, they say that if you smell yourself all over your body, you cannot miss a stinking place. If you look at this document, you cannot find a place which does not please you. But it is good to take into consideration that it involves more than you, and every issue which was raised there, let's say creating positions, the Prime Minister, the two Deputy Prime Ministers. Of course, people say that since all these people will come from the same party, how is it that you are saying that the winner does not take all? The winner, in our case, actually are not individuals. Kenyans has become so tribalistic that the winners are always considered as communities. So the more the positions, so long as they go to different communities, people want to find themselves on that table. That is why today, if the government makes any appointments, the first thing people look for is which tribe has been appointed, irrespective of who is involved, what the selection process was, and what it is supposed to be. Like recently, we had the appointment of the diplomats. People start calculating which community has taken what, instead of looking at which station, if somebody has been posted to Peru, what our interests are there, what expertise we need, whether our representation there was necessary in the first place. But Kenyans will debate which community got what. I witnessed a very interesting case the other day when there was a debate about KEMSA. And I bumped into an old friend in one of the malls, having coffee. And his biggest preoccupation was, I think the MD from KEMSA had some funny name which was not very traditional Kenyan. And he desperately wanted to know which tribe is this man. And I couldn't help him because even me, that name looked very strange. He even Googled, and it produced a Congolese name, similar name. So somebody imagined that maybe somebody from the DRC has been appointed. Then later, out of frustration, he said, "Lazima huyu ni mtu yao." You know, that yao now is, I could not interpret, but because of his frustrations, I had to just agree with him that maybe hiyo ni mtu yao. So I think that will take care of that. If we look at the police, people say that we are compromising the neutrality of the police. In fact, from my point of view, we are giving the IG or whoever in charge of the police the operational independence to do law enforcement, to work and promote and his staff. While the commission was a civilian institution, which I think was interfering with that. Why that council is very necessary is each government which comes in, each regime which comes in, focuses on areas of law enforcement or security, which they want to be their priority.
All right, we will get into the nitty-gritties in a bit, especially the devolution part. We'll come to that. I just wanted to know whether you support the ANC party leader's position. And Ledama, now that there are issues with the constitution, is the proposal by Musalia Mudavadi a way that we should adopt? He's proposing a smaller committee to bring up the issues, or will you continue to amend this document forever?
I think that would be something that I'd be amenable to, in the fact that if we continue giving this, our proposals or amendments to the BBI task force, I'm sorry, but those wazers will not change their mind. Those wazers will decide that we have decided we want an all-powerful president. That's the way it is. I would agree 100% with Musalia Mudavadi, because it is always good to be able to give another eye a chance to be able to take these contentious issues. Like they're very clear. You know, I don't support the blotted executive. I don't support the fusion between the executive and the National Assembly. You know, I think it would be important to be able to give, you know, current viewers, or current people, or, you know, constitutional lawyers and people who are not partisan. Because the problem that we have in this country is that people are very partisan. If this constitution was being drafted, or rather these amendments were being drafted by people who are not politicians, or who have got no affiliation with any political party, I can tell you it would have been the best way forward to be able to move forward. So this smaller committee would look at these issues, and say, okay, Olekina, you're not happy with the bloated executive. What are your views? You're not happy with the way this fusion between the National Assembly and the executive. What are your views? Then we'll look at it that way. That is the only way we can actually be able to really have an honest conversation. You may not agree with me. I like what my party leader always said, that you may not agree with me, but he will defend my right to be heard. So give me an opportunity to be heard. Let me explain why I think this is a wrong process. This is a wrong way to move, because when it comes to the issue of legislative proposal as an example, we are elected leaders. Our constitution is very clear on the procedures. We have standing orders. If you bring all those, legislative proposals, amendments, give it to us. Let us go through the process of public participation. Let us discuss with the people and say, look, you elected us. We are the people who are elected. I believe there's so many amendments that must come to assure accountability. The Public Audit Act must be audited to make it criminal for those governors to refuse to give auditors documents. The PFM Act, in terms of how you use the money, but it is us, the politicians, who can be able to now come in and amend those legislative proposals. But if you just make them a blanket, bill, which you're supposed to give to the parliament, then if we don't fix them now, our constitution does not give us an opportunity to go and amend them in parliament. So I think this is an opportunity. You set up another smaller committee, give them an opportunity to look at those legislative proposals. I think parliament also need to go on a retreat. They need to go and sit down and think of their positions, and we divorce our own selfish interest. Because we've got to remember that we're not making a constitution to be for 2022. We are making a constitution that will be there, and it will outlive our generation, so that it can continue assisting this nation develop. We have said so much about the youth. We have said so much about what we want to do to the youth, give them a tax holiday. We need to look at that proposal. Is that really the way to go? Or can we, are we making our youth lazy? We need money. We need money to pay the debt. We've overborrowed. How are we going to be able to pay? I think if you're talking about giving a tax waiver to all youth or all companies that take development to the county, setting up of industries in county governments, then I would support that entirely, because then you will be decongesting Nairobi, you'll be decongesting Mombasa, you will be taking services to the people, creating employments in county levels. Those are more practical solutions than just being utopian. Saying, well, we are going to do this and going to do this, but you don't set up the procedures or processes on how you achieve those things in a fiduciary responsibility.
Wanjiru, should we re-amend this document again, or will we be now stuck in a vicious cycle of amendment after amendment after amendment? What do you propose now that this document is out? There seems to be a bit of contention.
There's not a bit of contention, and I think it's a very good question that you're asking. And just to pick up on something that the senator has said, there is too much self-interest in this document. And something that we learned from the 2010 process and the practice in other jurisdictions is that those who are in office at the time of constitution making should not become beneficiaries of the positions that are created, because then they have a vested interest in writing themselves into a document that's supposed to guide us, as the senator said, is supposed to guide the state structure of the state, not the government of the day. So number one, the first problem with BBI, apart from trying to shield those in office from their role or crimes undertaken under their watch, apart from trying to shield them, it's also looking at succession. It's a succession plan. And so it has been captured by the political interest. And in that regard, or linked to that, I'll reiterate again, by missing out how to strengthen sovereignty of the citizens, how to make our political leaders accountable to us, the citizens. The BBI technical experts failed this country, because from time immemorial, from the late 80s, multi-party, push for the new constitution dispensation, over those years, the one challenge that is still bedeviling us is lack of political accountability of our political representatives. And the BBI misses the key part, which is strengthening citizen voice.
Yeah.
Another aspect that makes dialogue on this document extremely difficult is it does not have clear foundational principles. It is a bunch of proposals. And some of those proposals are actually good. Others of them are statutory, others are policy, others are constitutional. So it is so jumbled up because of the interest that really spending more time and resources on this will not give us a different outcome. So no, I don't agree. I think the BBI is violating, and we went to court on this because we said any amendments to the Constitution, because Constitution is a living document, and it needs to grow as we learn things. There are barriers. We need to be able to amend it. Okay. But the amendments should not interfere with the covenant that we made, and these are the principles. Okay. So the proposals given fundamentally erode that. They erode on the basis of representation, on the basis of devolution, on the basis of sovereignty. Like there's this provision around, and I'll stick again to public participation, where you're stressing the issue of responsibilities of the citizen. And if you read that language, it's very inimical to liberation, to freedom, to self-governance, which are the foundational principles informing citizen engagement under the Constitution. We're now being taken to another kind of look at public participation or citizen engagement, where you have duties to obey, duties to be directed. You'll be measured based on your contribution to development. Now, under the present Constitution, and this is the big lie of BBI, there are already responsibilities on citizens. We have a duty to uphold and protect the Constitution. Okay. That means we are all bound by Article 10 on the national values of the country. Right. And those are the obligations that are based on us. And I agree, as citizens, we are not fully exercising our responsibilities under the present Constitution, but I do not agree that requires gives a basis for derogation of then our freedoms and our liberty. So instead of strengthening sovereignty of the citizens, this document is putting us under a dictatorship where we will be directed by a national rapporteur on what we need to participate on, when we should participate, what we should say. This is an insidious and very insidious proposals, taking us back to the dark days of the Moi regime. Actually, we can understand where the Jubilee administration comes from. You must note, we don't have freedom of assembly in this country anymore. You can't demonstrate in Nairobi, even when COVID funds were stolen. And Kenyans wanted to demonstrate in solidarity with the president's own statements against corruption. They were tear-gassed and pushed off the streets. We do not have freedom of assembly. And this document is trying to drive us into a situation where we lose our democratic rights. So I'll repeat again, the BBI is fighting against our democracy, and we must reject it.
All right. Ndegwa Wahome, eventually this comes to the county assemblies at some point. What is the position? Because I heard you speaking at Bomas of Kenya and you said that you're good to go.
Yes, whatever is that one is that I kind of generally agree with the leader of the ANC, Musalia Mudavadi, on the formation of another committee to listen now on the deeper issues about the BBI report. It is true that there would be a problem in this country to come up with a committee that would be seen to be non-partisan. I don't know, actually I don't have a formula on how we come up with such a committee, but I feel that this is a document that requires more interrogation and requires more interventions. And I don't think we have a problem of time in looking at this document, because so far is that those primary requirements are not even there for us to be able to go to a referendum, unless we are talking about dealing with bills already before Parliament. You will note that, Trevor, as so far, we don't even have a referendum law. I would wish to hear what the Senator would be saying about this one. The Uguza Mzigo bill, as it is popularly known, was dealt with in a very haphazard manner, where in some assemblies they had the minimum quorum, but still dealt with a constitutional amendment bill.
Yeah.
And the other, actually there is no foundation on how to deal with a constitutional bill as we start now as a country. And therefore I don't, for those who are saying that we rush into referendum, I don't know on what basis they would want us to rush into referendum. Secondly is that even where the assemblies either reject or pass the constitutional amendment bill, Parliament is not given any timelines. So as assemblies, we can act in vain and in futility, whereby we make our resolutions to accept maybe the bill, but then Parliament will go and sit on it even for 2 years. There is nobody to drive them to do what they are supposed to do because the law does not have any requirement for that.
Yeah.
The other issue, Trevor, is that these issues that we submitted to the Hardy Committee, most of them have not been taken care of. Like now the issue of the Electoral Commission, those who are vetting and the panel vetting and nominating members to the Electoral Commission.
Yeah.
Find that the Parliamentary Service Commission is given 4 slots in that panel. And now you ask yourself, out of 7 slots, how is it that the Parliamentary Service Commission are going to get 4 slots? Where are the Kenyans? Where are the 2,287 MCAs who interact with Wadiko daily? And I think that is an area for conversation for us as MCAs to be able to look at such a bill. And the most tragic thing is that if that bill comes to the assemblies now, there can never be any amendment. It is either we pass it or we reject it.
Okay.
The issue also on the Electoral Commission, you'll find that there are going to be 7 commissioners.
Yeah.
Again, political parties are supposed to provide 4. And you find that most of the segment of the society in this country, and the MCAs for that matter, because I talk for MCAs, 2,287, they have no say on the constitution of an electoral body, which mostly affects MCAs. They are the main stakeholders in this.
Yeah.
Trevor, why do we have double standards? That we want part of the cabinet to come from Parliament, but we don't want part of the CECs to come from the MCAs. And we are saying under Article 27 of the Constitution as we know it today, that discrimination, and that is another issue that we want such a committee to look into.
Okay.
Finally, Trevor, is that you find that the report gives us 5%.
Yeah.
The money is allocated to the counties, that is the money that will go directly to the wards. And you leave here an imperial governor to control 95%, which he can decide to go to take to his home village. I think this is a derogation of what as MCAs we have already been able to achieve. In Nyandaro, if today my MCAs get 5%, there will be barely 380 million. Already we are getting about 1.2 billion, which we are equitably distributing across the boards in the county. So therefore,
Wahome, with all those issues that you mentioned, then it means that even if this comes to the county assemblies, you will not pass it the same way you had said that you would at the Bomas of Kenya. Are you changing your mind now?
No, I never changed my mind. I said that we had listened very carefully to the president, and that we are going to take up his challenge to read the document, which we are doing very actively. Actually, at this time today, I'm meeting the National Governing Council of the County Assemblies Forum on that issue. And we promised that we are going to take this document to the grassroots so that Wajiko can understand and only the same.
Okay.
But we are saying that beforehand, there should be a conversation, and I said this at Bomas, of all those issues which we think are very critical before that bill comes to the assemblies.
Okay. I have to take a quick break here on Daybreak. When we come back now, we delve into the issues of devolution. 35% from 15% to 35%. Senators are increasing to about 94 of them. Half of them will be women, and the 5% Ward Development Fund. We'll find out from the governor, senators, and the County Assemblies Forum, and also Wanjiru Gikonyo, whether this is a shot in the arm for devolution or not. We'd also like to hear your views. Keep them coming at Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Daybreak. See you in a bit.